Doug Dane.
All right, Tyson, thank you. Thanks for hosting this, folks. Really happy to be here. Every few weeks, I just love coming on and sharing some information, trying to help you and serve you. And we've got some of our members from my mentoring center here on the call, and they're inside here. I'm going to stick around for some Q&A for our members afterwards. But for those of you that are watching on the broadcast live, or maybe you're watching the replay, I want to welcome you here, and I'm going to spend the next 30 minutes or so trying to help you sell more. And so we call this the 3 essentials to sell more. Now, listen, the problem is that you're not selling enough. You're not selling more, which means you're probably not earning what you want to be earning, and so you're not actually doing what you know how to do or what you should be doing. And it gets you frustrated, you get frustrated with yourself. You worry about your future. You worry about your career or the business you're in. You start to second guess yourself. Should I quit? Should I give up? Should I do something else? And it doesn't have to be this way. And actually, it's not your fault. There's some good news, right? The problem is that you know what to do, but you're not doing it. But you can make some simple adjustments that can make a big difference in the results. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. So I just want to just consider this idea for a second. All right. Your ability to sell more has a lot more to do with your mindset rather than your skill set. Okay. Consider that. Your ability to sell more is actually more about your mindset than it is actually your skill set, but that's not really the way that we go about it. We always focus on skill set first, rather than really focusing on what the real problem is. Listen, I can spend all day here with you on skill set. I could talk for days. I could talk for hours on skill set. I spent 30 years coaching people, teaching people to sell. And so we could do an all-day session on skill set, but that's not going to get you to sell more. It might get you to sell a little bit more, but it's definitely not going to get you to sell a lot more. Most of you watching, you already know what to do. All right. And so rather than just giving you more information and more skill sets and stuff like that, what we've got to do is actually focus on what's actually causing you to do what you do and get you to do what you already know how to do. Now, skills are important, don't get me wrong, but if we don't fix your knowing doing gap, the skills aren't going to be what causes you to sell more. So in this short class, I want to focus on what's really going on. We are going to talk about 3 essentials to selling more. Number 1, it's mindset. Number 2 is skill set, and number 3, of course, is confidence. And I'm going to show you how those all link together. So stay with me here. Now, what if I'm right? What would it look like for you if your mindset was strong and you felt confident every day in what you were selling? What if every day you could wake up and you were confident and you knew what to do and you just went about and did it? You were fired up, you were excited, you were confident. What if I'm right? What if it is mindset? What if that's the most important thing that we need to work on, and skill set actually comes second? So listen, here's the problem. I'll give you a few examples of some things that might be going on for you, depending on what business you're in. You're supposed to be prospecting and following up with people, but you procrastinate. You put it off. You don't want to do it. You got great excuses and alibis why you didn't do it or why you shouldn't do it. I was on a call earlier this morning with a group of people, and I was talking to one person trying to find out, okay, why aren't they doing what I asked them to do or instructed them to do? In fact, they asked me what to do. I told them what to do, and they're not doing it. And for about 30 seconds or so, they had a pretty interesting answer where I had to finally sort of stop them and interrupt them. So that's what we really want to focus on is why aren't we doing what we already know how to do? You get stuck. I get stuck. Everybody gets stuck. You get stuck in the knowing doing gap. And then when you get stuck in the knowing doing gap, then you start giving yourself a hard time because you know what to do, but you're not doing it. Or you're doing things you know that you shouldn't be doing, but you're doing it anyway. And you know that you're going the wrong direction. And so you get frustrated and you give yourself a hard time. And the problem is you don't really know how to close the knowing doing gap. And so I don't think that you should be so frustrated with yourself. Like I said, it's not your fault, but you do have the ability to close this knowing doing gap. And so we've got this gap from where we are. So wherever you are right now in terms of your sales results, what you're earning, you're right here right now, and you want to go there. Okay, from here to there. And that's the gap that you're trying to close. You're trying to get from where you are to where you want to be. And we've got to close that gap. Well, you already know how to probably close that gap, but you're not doing it. So the other part of this is this knowing doing gap. What is this knowing doing gap? What causes it? And how do we change it? Some other things that are going on for you. You're in a lot of cases, you're more concerned about your problems than you are about your customers' problems. Okay. So you sit down with a customer and you got stuff running through your mind because you got problems, right? You're not earning enough, you're not closing enough. You're worried about the future of your business, your career. Am I going to get fired? You start running all these things in your mind as to what's going wrong. And you take that into these meetings. Now you might say, I don't do that, but there's lots of things that are going on at a subconscious level that you might not even be aware of. You're only aware of what's going on at a conscious level. Okay. I'm worried about paying my bills. But subconscious, there's some things going on as well. So you're often more concerned about your problems than you are solving your customers' problems. And then you shouldn't be worrying or doubting, but you do. You don't want to worry and doubt, but you do. And so this is the problem that we have to solve. Now, if you can make the mindset adjustments that you will become more confident, you will become more effective, and you will sell more. If you just keep trying to do more by learning more or reading more or going to more workshops or listening to these classes or replays, like this isn't going to really cut it for. I'm just being really direct with you. I'm a very direct guy. I don't believe in wasting your time. Hopping from live class to live class or watching things on YouTube or reading books on selling. I got lots of books on selling and all that stuff. That's not really what's going to get you to do more. So if you keep taking that approach, you're going to stay stuck. You're probably not going to sell anymore. Maybe temporarily you'll see an increase. So that will happen. You might come on this class, or you might pick up a book, or you might sit down with somebody that gives you some tips and some coaching, and off you go. And you move into action. Now, not everybody moves into action, but you might move into action, and then you will see some temporary change and some temporary results. Then you get hopeful and you get excited. You go, I got this licked, and then you're right back to where you were before. Could be a week, could be a month, could be 6 months, but definitely year after year after year, I'll guarantee you your income is pretty much the same. And then you may end up quitting or giving up, and you think it's you. Like you think there's something wrong with you. That was me. I kept thinking, what the hell's wrong with me? Well, there wasn't anything wrong with me. I was just operating the wrong way with the wrong mindset. So for what it's worth, I just want to reassure you, it's not you. Okay. It's not you. It's your knowing doing gap. And if we go after that, man, oh man, life gets a hell of a lot easier. And not only does it help you sell more, this applies to all areas of your life. So listen, for 30 years, I've been coaching people and helping people sell more. And what I discovered in all the people that I've worked with, the common denominator for success or failure has been their mindset and not the skill set. Okay. I had a pretty good skill set fairly early on. I started in business in the late 80s, and it took me a couple of years to get my mindset straight, where I started to actually perform and get good results. And I was developing my skill set. And it's, again, like I said, skill set is important. But if you don't take care of the mindset, you're probably not going to do much improving the skill set anyway. And so I've helped enough people that I know you can sell more if you make some of these simple adjustments, and you'll see results over a fairly short period of time. So really, like I said, there's three essentials I want to talk to you about today. I want to talk to you about mindset. I want to talk to you about skill set. And we're we're not going to get into, objection handling and things like that. But I am going to give you some very simple skills that if you develop these skills, everything else you don't have to worry about. If you just focus on these skills, so I hope you got a pen and paper handy. If you just focus on these skills, the other skills will come a lot easier to you. Okay. So we want to focus on that. And number 3 is the confidence piece. You've got to be confident in front of your customer. And if you have the right mindset, and then you combine that with Skillset, the confidence actually comes fairly automatically. You don't actually have to really work at it too much. Because if you got the right mindset and you're doing some simple things with the skill on the Skillset side, you're just going to feel more confident, and so then you're gonna sell more. So let's talk a little bit about mindset here. Okay. Now, what I want to do is I want to do a bit of a demonstration here. I'm going to bring up my Remarkable on screen here, but I want to show you this little guy. Now, anybody that's followed Bob Proctor, and I know a lot of you that follow me have. If you haven't ever followed Bob or never seen what this thing is, this is called the stick person. And it's a very basic model to explain how your mind actually works. This image, it was just a drawing originally. I had a client actually make one for me. It's made of heavy tempered steel. It's about 5 pounds. It was originally an image created by a doctor back in the early 1900s. And how Bob got a hold of it was he met a couple people that were working with the guy that created this image. And the doctor wanted to give his patients an image of the mind so they could understand how the mind actually works. So he drew that image, and he started teaching that. It was through what's called concept therapy. And a couple of guys, Dr. C. Harry Roeder and Leland Val Vanderwall, were out there teaching how the mindset actually works. This is in the early 70s. And Bob met these guys. And when Bob saw this image and it was explaining him how it actually works, I mean, the light bulb went off. And, since then, he was just teaching it every day of his career. So I'm going to use this stick person to kind of make my points. Let me see if I can get my Remarkable on the screen here and bring this up. Let's see if we can get this to work. Come on. You guys see that okay? Just give me a thumbs up if you're here in the room. Got it, Rafael? Thank you. All right. So let's take a look at this, okay? Let me just draw the stick person here. So we have an image on screen that we can work with. Now, for those of you that don't know how this works, I'm just going to give you a really fast explanation. These little things are your 5 senses. Okay. This is what's called your conscious mind, and this is your subconscious mind. Okay. This is where we think, we can create thoughts, and we pick up thoughts from the outside through our 5 senses. Okay. And then our thoughts, they create feelings or emotions, and depending how we feel determines how this thing feels the body, and it's in what's called a vibration. It's either in a positive vibration or it's a negative vibration, and your body moves into action and you get results. That's basically how your mind works. Your mind, you've got a built-in automatic GPS, and it's goal seeking, all right? And your mind directs your brain and nervous system. So this is not your brain here, okay? This is not your brain. This is mind. Mind is activity. It's not a thing. Your brain resides in your body, okay? And your nervous system. Your brain and nervous system are part of your body. Your mind directs the brain and nervous system. Now, I didn't know that, and when I got this little part explained, I go, this makes a lot of sense. So here's some of the problems from a mindset perspective. And so just, jot these down and just take inventory of yourself to see if any of these are symptoms of your problem, right? So a lot of people, and I talk about this all the time, a lot of people, they may not have a goal that really excites them or that really, fires them up and gets them out of bed in the morning. Very few people have goals. This thing is a goal. It's a goal-seeking mechanism. Okay, you want to go after a goal. That's my pathetic idea of a star. It's getting better, a little bit more shape. Okay, this is where you want to go. All right. Okay, right now you're here and you want to go there. That's the goal. Very few people have goals, like goals that really inspire them and motivate them. And people that do have goals, generally, they don't really have a really solid plan that excites them either. Now, most people don't have goals, right? They have wants, they have wishes. They want their conditions to change. They want to earn more money. They want to live in a nicer house. They want to be more confident. They want to sell more. Those aren't goals. Those are conditions, right? And so one of the problems people have is if you don't have a crystal clear goal, okay, that you are shooting for, because your mind is goal seeking, your mind just wanders all over the place. So we got to get really clear on our destination. Now, like I said, we're talking about here, you probably suffer from the knowing doing gap and you actually don't know how to close it. So what's going on? All right. So here we are, we're on this live class, right? We read books, we take courses, and we take in this information on how to sell more. Okay. And we take this information and we try to memorize it, remember it. And you can spend like a weekend at a seminar, and then you leave the seminar and you probably don't implement much of anything at all after the seminar in terms of what you learned in the class. Now you can recite what you learned. You can say, I learned this and I learned that. And we're going to talk about skills, and if you jot them down, you'll remember the skills we talked about. But just because you know them, it doesn't mean that you're actually going to do it. Okay. So this is the knowing, and then the doing is actually directed by the subconscious. Okay. So knowing happens at the conscious level, doing is at the subconscious level. All right. Now, 95% of our day is operated habitually and unconsciously. We just get up and we follow a sequence of habits. And we've got this machine, Maxwell Maltz, who wrote, I just got the book here, wrote a book called Psycho-Cybernetics, explaining how this machine works. He said, man is not a machine, but man has a machine that he operates or directs. And so you've got this machine that you see on the screen, you've got this mind, you're the operator of the machine, just like I'm operating this computer. This computer is a machine and I'm operating it. Okay. So we have to understand that 95% of what we do, okay, is basically unconscious. That's what we do. We just go up, we get up every morning and pretty much you do the same thing. If your routine or your habitual sequence gets disrupted, it really throws you off. You wake up and you feel kind of off, or your morning doesn't start off very good. And you think there's something wrong with you, or there's some problem or whatever it is. It's just you're screwing around with this habitual sequence, and the subconscious doesn't really like it. So we have to understand that the doing happens at this level, okay? No matter what right? No matter what your company teaches you to do, they can give you the best strategies, the best plans, the best marketing, the best scripts, the best follow-up systems, the best CRMs. They can give you all kinds of things that can help you. And you know what to do, but it doesn't mean that it's going to get you to do it. And so we have to also remember that this mind that directs our body, okay, like I said, it's a goal-seeking machine. You've got this built-in GPS, but it's run by a mental program. Okay, you have a mental program that's basically controlling this right here. All right, And that mental program, it consists of a number of things. And if we don't work on those things and change what's going on at the subconscious level, no matter what you do, you're not going to do much more to sell more. So we've got to switch out the program. And if you don't switch out the program, then nothing is going to change. And so what's in this program? Well, you've got beliefs that dictate your behavior. You have to understand all of your behavior, okay? All of our behavior is what causes the action, okay? All of the behavior is run by our beliefs, which is part of this program. And so if we don't change these beliefs about ourselves, about selling, about our confidence, about our capability, if we don't change the beliefs, then the behaviors are not going to change. You might walk into a meeting just with the feeling like, I don't think I'm going to be able to close this deal. Or you might walk into a meeting with a belief thinking, I'm worried that my prospect is going to bring up this objection, right? So we have all these beliefs that dictate our behavior. You also have fears, okay? You've got fears that restrict or constrict your behavior. So you walk into a meeting and you're fearful, you're fearful of what they think of you. You're fearful of whether you're going to be able to make this sale because you're worried about your income. You're fearful of, how do I sound and how do I look? You're worried about what they think of you. That's the bottom line. One of the biggest problems salespeople have is you're worried about what your prospect is thinking of you. You're spending more time thinking of you than you are spending thinking about your prospect. And so if the attention is on you and you're worried about you, you're going to be uncomfortable. You're not going to be relaxed. Your customer is going to, throw something at you or an objection at you or something like that. I was talking to a lady this morning and she said, a customer threw an objection at me and it really threw me off. In fact, it kind of hurt my feelings, they said. So yeah, you got to go to these meetings, really with a clear mind and relaxed and calm and not really worrying about anything or thinking about anything besides trying to help your customer. And a lot of people do that, and that's why they don't sell more. These fears, they hold you back. They keep you in the comfort zone. You know that you should go out and you should start prospecting. You should start, contacting people. You should be doing follow-ups. You should be knocking on doors. You should get on and do a live class like this. You should get on social media and maybe, do a story or whatever it is, that you should be doing. And the fear keeps us in that comfort zone. And then, fear is a real bugger, I'll tell you, because fear has the ability to make up really great alibis and excuses to explain away your own lack of effort or achievement. In a great book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, that was the book that drove Bob Proctor to success. I got introduced to that through Bob. I studied every week. So we have some members here in my mentoring center. They're here inside the Zoom room with me watching. We're going to do a Q&A after with them. And every Monday, we do a Monday mindset book study to help you discover the secrets the author wants you to know. So we're studying Think and Grow Rich. And it's amazing just to go through it again and again and again. Anyway, the last chapter of Think and Grow Rich is called How to Outwit the 6 Ghosts of Fear. And the very end of the book, he ends with 57 famous alibis by old man If. And he lists all these alibis. If I just had more time, if I just had money, if my company gave me better tools, if I just had a different product to sell, if they just gave me some more training, if they would just answer my questions, if, he lists 57 ifs. And he says at the end, if, and this is the biggest if of them all, if I would actually see what my weaknesses are and get busy working on them, rather than wasting my time coming up with excuses and alibis, I'd be a lot further ahead. It was pretty sobering to read that. It's pretty hard hitting, but it's true. Our fear keeps us in the comfort zone. So basically what's going on here for folks is that, we know what to do. We get all this information. We know what to do, but we're not doing it. And what we continue to do and continue to get the same results over and over is because this program runs the doing. Okay, the doing forms into action or behaviors. It's run by the beliefs. It's part of the program. And you end up with the same results year after year, and you never really get here. And so that's what we got to work on. In order to close the knowing doing gap, what you've got to do is literally, you basically got to switch this all out. Let's just erase this whole friggin' thing. Erase all right? We start from scratch. You've got this amazing machine called your mind. And what we do is you decide, let me see if I can draw my star again here. You decide on your goal, okay? And what you do is you start thinking differently. We spend a lot more time thinking about the goal rather than taking in all this information through our five senses. Okay, we start thinking about the goal and ways we can get to the goal, right? And we turn those thoughts and ideas over to our subconscious mind. Simultaneously, while we're getting emotionally involved in this new idea, we're also reprogramming our subconscious mind to get it to change the doing. Okay, so the new knowing, okay, is not about, all the stuff around selling more. The new knowing is basically, we just focus on the goal. We reprogram the mind to believe that we can achieve this goal and the beliefs that we need in order to sell more, which is the result to get us to the goal. That's what you need to do, right? You've got to reprogram this mental program at a subconscious level. Everybody tries to just do better through willpower, okay? Your willpower is not going to cut it, right? It'll cut it for a little while, but then you get stuck again, right? And listen, this is just the way that you learn to improve and to do well. Nobody really taught you to do what I'm telling you to do, right? Now, many of you actually even know this. Some of you suffer from the knowing doing gap. You know what the knowing doing gap is, yet you're still not able to close the knowing doing gap. And it's probably because, the old program is probably just way too strong for you to change it on your own. Maybe you need somebody like me to guide you and hold you accountable. That's generally what I find. A lot of people just, their program is so strong and, they failed and they make mistakes and they struggle. That was me. I mean, I really struggled for a long, long time. So my program was really working against me. And so it was a lot of hard work. Now, I was also stubborn. I wasn't fully open-minded. I wanted things to change, but I was really skeptical. I wasn't very trusting. And, it took me a long time to find somebody that I could actually trust. And I found that, through Bob Proctor, but even working with him in the beginning, I wanted to trust him completely, but I didn't really turn it over completely, where I was absolutely faithful in what he was telling me. But when I did that, when I finally did that, then that's when things really started to change. So that's mindset. I want to spend most of the time on that. Let's talk a little bit about skill set, right? So these are important skills. You've got to develop them. They're not hard. They're really, really simple. You just have to remember them and you got to practice them, right? So grab your pen if you haven't got something, grab a pen, a piece of paper, and just jot this down. Now, listen, for our members that are here, we're going to give you this in writing as well. Okay, we're going to put a little ebook together for you, so you've got something you can kind of reflect on. Number one, do less talking and more listening. All right. Do less talking and more listening. What we tend to want to do, because we're nervous or we're uncomfortable or we're a little worried about whatever, we tend to do too much talking to compensate for our nervousness. So we start talking, we dump out all these things, blah, 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 and we don't really know what's going on for our customer, right? Well, the best way to become comfortable, if you're uncomfortable, is to do less talking and ask more questions and do more listening. So if you want to become more comfortable, just ask questions. Okay. So I say, rather than becoming a great talker, become a great questioner. Right? And this applies to anything. If you're negotiating a contract, if you're, arguing with your spouse, if you're having a problem at work with your boss, if you're dealing with your children, if you're dealing with a prospect and you want to sell more or sell your idea to anybody about anything, maybe you want to, sell your movie to a movie producer, you want to sell your book to a publisher, whatever it is, right? If you want to sell your ideas, you got to become a great questioner and a great listener. Okay. So create really good questions. People, well, how do I do that? Well, it's easy. What you do is you get your pen out and just make a list of all the problems, pain points, needs, wants that you can think of that your customer might have. What are all the pain points? What are all the problems they've got? What are all the needs and wants that your customer has? So just literally write problems, pain points, needs, wants, and then just brainstorm a list. Come up with as many as you can. Okay. And it won't take you very long. Like literally, you can do that in a couple of minutes. Just boom, 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 write them all out. Okay. Now, what you've got a list of questions. So all you do is you just create a question to go with the problem. Okay. So I know a lot of your problems are that you just can't seem to sell more because of the reasons I mentioned earlier. So I will ask you a question. I'll say, hey, Joe, listen, what do you think is the biggest thing that's stopping you from selling more? What are some of the problems you think you face? And then they'll rifle off all their problems. And chances are I've already thought about those problems because I made a list of the problems, the pain points, and the needs and the wants. Okay. That's where your questions come from. And so what you want to do is become investigative with earnest. Okay. Be an earnest investigator. What do I mean by that? Be really interested in finding out what's going on for them. Okay. Get really earnest about trying to figure out what their problems are, what their pain points are, what their needs are, and what their wants are. Be really interested in helping them solve their problems. Okay. That's what I mean. Become an earnest investigator of their problems. And if you do that, man, oh man, a bunch of things are going to happen. Number one, you're going to build rapport very, very quickly. Okay. Like I often people will say, man, oh man, he's just so good. He really understands me. He really listens, And I do, because I ask a lot of questions. I really want to know what's going on for. Like I'm very earnest, and I got a really big heart to help people. And so I just really want to find out what's going on. So become what I call an earnest investigator and get really interested in helping them solve their problems. And they're going to feel it. They're going to know that you really care. Okay. And then when you see them respond that way, you become more relaxed. Like I'm very relaxed on this call right now. I used to be really nervous to do these, but I'm very relaxed. I'm just earnest to help you. I'm earnest to get some information into you that will help you sell more. Okay. Be known as a problem solver rather than a salesperson. Some of you don't like the idea of being a salesperson. I don't like the title of salesperson. I don't like that, And so rather than being a salesperson, become known as a problem solver. And again, if you're asking lots of questions, you're really earnest about finding out what their problem is and showing them how you can solve their problem with your product or service, you're going to do a lot better and you're going to sell a lot more. Learn to love objections. Right? Just make your mind up that you love objections. I love objections. And here's why. Because if you object to something that I'm trying to sell you to help you, it means you're interested. You wouldn't have any objections. You wouldn't say anything. You go, no, thanks, I'm not interested. You'd leave the store or something, But when people say things or give you objections, they're interested, but they're not sold. Okay. They're interested, but they're not sold. So I love objections because what they're basically doing is they're helping me to understand what the problem is, right? And what I've got to do, what you got to do, is you got to get to the main problem. You got to get to what's called the main point. A great little, not a trick, but a great skill that I developed, that I learned, was find the main point and stick to it. Find the main problem and stick to it. And so just learn to love these objections because they're revealing problems. Okay. Now, listen, just so you know, there's only really two issues that underlie objections. Okay. There's only two issues that underlie objections: lack of value or lack of trust. Okay. So if anybody gives you an objection, it's not about you. Okay. So don't take it personally. They're not rejecting you, right? You've just not demonstrated enough value yet, or establish enough trust with them yet that you can solve their problem, or your product or service will solve the problem. And so that's why I love objections, because I know it's about value and trust. And what they're saying to me is, Doug, you've not built up enough trust with me yet to buy, or you've not demonstrated enough value that I'm going to get for the money that you're going to take. Your job is to demonstrate that you're going to provide more value to them than what you're going to take from them in terms of money. And then the most important skill you have to develop is your listening skills, right? You've got to listen to understand, not to sell. Okay? You've got to listen to understand, not to sell, right? You don't listen to hear, you don't listen to sell, you listen to understand. And what you're doing is you're asking a bunch of questions to find out what their problem is, to see if you can help them. So you don't go into a sales call to sell people something. You go into a sales call to see if you can sell them something. Or in other words, you go into a sales call to find out what their problem is, and can you help them solve their problem with your product or service? And if you can, you offer that product and service and demonstrate that that product or service can help them solve their problem. Okay, that's how you sell more. Now, the last point I want to cover off before we wrap up here, and I want to just cover up a couple of the things. If you're watching the live stream here, or you're on the replay, just stay with me for a few more minutes. The last one out of these three essentials is confidence. Okay. Now, confidence generally comes through experience. That's where it generally comes through. Okay. If you're afraid, then you've got to turn back to your mindset. Okay. So if you're afraid, or you're lacking confidence, or you're uncomfortable, or you're fearful, or anything like that, you've got to turn back to the first step, which is mindset. We've got to change what's going on in your subconscious around these beliefs, right? These beliefs are formed from your programming, your experiences, your failures, your mistakes. So if you're afraid, we've got to turn back to mindset. Now, if you've got a good mindset on selling, you're going to become more confident. Okay. It's just automatic. All right. You'll be more confident to speak up, and you'll be more prescriptive and directive. So what do I mean by that? So if I really build up a really healthy mindset, a really strong mindset, okay, I'm going to be a lot more confident, and I'm going to be a lot more directive and prescriptive. Like, I don't really ask people to buy. I tell people what they should do. I go, listen, John, this is what you need to do. And I lay out a step-by-step plan. I tell them what to do. And then they maybe have their objections, and we work those objections with, I just ask them more questions to handle that person's objections. Okay. But if you've got the right mindset on selling, you'll become more confident, more directive, more prescriptive. So again, if you want to be more confident, it's back to mindset, right? And then when you're more confident because of mindset, you take more action, and then you get a reaction to your action, which builds more confidence. So confidence comes actually from cause and effect. You take action and you get a reaction. Okay. So we gain confidence through experience. But in order to break through the terror barrier, break through the fear, we've got to work on the mindset. And you got to work on it every day. over and over until you're not afraid anymore, until you take action. Now, it doesn't take very long, but everybody's trying to use willpower to get over their fear, and it ain't working. It does not work. If it works, it's temporary. And then you go out and you meet somebody, you still got this junk going on inside, and you're fearful and you're uncomfortable and you're worried what people are going to think of you. All the things I mentioned earlier that's getting in the way of you selling more. You're more focused on your problems than you are on your customers' problems. And then lastly, if you're worried about being too pushy or too salesy, that messes with your confidence, right? So a lot of people, they're worried about being too pushy or sounding too salesy, they call it. Now, you think that you're being polite, okay, by not being too pushy. You think you're being polite. You want to know what your customer thinks? Your customer thinks that you don't believe in your product or your service. Well, I don't want to be too pushy. And I'm going, geez, that guy wasn't very confident. Let me think about it. And I go down the road and I talk to somebody else. Okay. So, the bottom line is that your confidence is going to come through mindset first. Your mindset will help you to build up the skill set, and a combination of mindset and skill set will then build up the confidence, and you're going to sell more. So if you want to sell more and you're not, you're probably going to need somebody to guide you and hold you accountable. Now, I have this mentoring center. There's people in here with me in the Zoom room. And so you should join my mentoring center. Take a 30-day trial, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to be going over 3 follow-up classes from this class for my members. So over the next few weeks, I'm going to take you on a deeper dive through this idea of being able to sell more. Okay. Now, imagine how you feel if you could wake up and start your day where you were confident, knowing what to do, and you actually do what you already know how to do. Imagine that. Imagine waking up and you just habitually and automatically just start doing the things you know you need to do. And that's the way we operate, right? 95% of us, 95% of our day is run unconsciously through habitual behavior. So if you want to do more and sell more, we've got to make these doing things part of our habitual unconscious behavior. We want to make it habitual and automatic. So imagine waking up each day, you pop out of bed, you're fired up about your goals and where you're going and the service that you provide. I get up very, very early in the morning. I wake up very early because I'm just so excited to get out of bed and help people and move towards my goals. And I'm very effective, and I do things that most people don't like to do. Now, do I have a knowing doing gap? Absolutely. And every time I set a new goal, my current knowing doing gap kicks in. And so I got to make the same adjustments I'm telling you to make. But if you do these changes, you make these changes, you will have the satisfaction knowing that you're progressing and that you're selling more. So remember, the ability to sell more has a lot more to do with your mindset than it does with your skill set. Okay. We've got to close this knowing doing gap. So listen, I'm inviting you in, join my mentoring center. You're going to get a link in an email. Tyson might be dropping the link in the replay. I'm not even sure, but we're going to send you a link and you can join the mentoring center. It's normally $37 a month. I'm going to charge you $1 for a month worth of access. You got 30 days to check it out. You can go through these next few classes with me over the coming weeks, whether you're live or you get the replays. And you can come inside here and I will help you sell more. So I want to thank you for listening in. If you're live here, thank you very much for joining us. If you're watching the replay, let us know you're watching the replay. Get a hold of me, reach out to me. I just love to help you sell more, do more, be more, just have a better life and just feel better about yourself, so you can go out and live a better life and help the world be a better place. So I'm going to turn off the live stream here and I'm going to stick around with my members here for a little bit of Q&A. So again, I want to thank you for coming on and